Perek Memhei, the 45th chapter of the book of Tehillim, and it seems to be a chapter that was recited in honor of a king. Um, and we'll get into it and see. And there's some different things that come out midrashically in different places. But let us begin. Lamnatzech al Shoshanim livnei Korach maskil shir yedidut. So to the director of music, al Shoshanim, what this word means, as many words we've had, unclear exactly what it means. Is it a musical instrument? Is it something related to Shoshanim, to lilies, and that it was something that was inspired? A difficult thing. We've had this before. Almut laben, different. Exactly what these lamnatzech is for, we don't know. Again, this is for the Bnei Korach, and it's a shir yedidut. It's a song of yedid. It's a song of love, and we'll start to see that. But it was yesterday or 2 days ago about the songs. I think it was 2 days ago. The songs that were very much we could see them through the lens of Tzfat in the late 16th century, of the Lechadodis and the yearning for the soul that was described here. And this is also a song of love. So let's see. Rachash libi davar tov, omer ani maaseh lemelech. My heart is stirring with good things. I will relate, my composition, my song to the king, right? So it's written, as we said, in honor of a king. Exactly. When is it from a king? Lishoni 8. So fair mahir. My tongue is the pen of a ready scribe, right? I'm ready. I'm like the scribe. I'm ready to write down these words for the king. Yafita mibnei adam. Utzak chein besiftotecha, al kein beirachta Elohim leolam. You are more handsome than all men. Good-looking king, good genes, and right to grace. God's grace, chein, was placed upon your lips, and therefore God has blessed you forever. Now, this is a little bit of a difficult idea of praising the king because he is so beautiful. If you remember when Shmuel goes to anoint the son of Yishai, Yishai's oldest son comes and Shmuel looks at him and he's very good looking and he's very tall, and he says, "Oh, this must be the king for God." And God says to Shmuel, humans look with their eyes, and I look inside. I look what's in the heart. This is not the right person. Now, David is also described as being Yifei Naim, with a good-looking person as well. But the idea in that chapter is that the looks are not the only thing, and certainly not for God. But here, this handsomeness comes in. You could, try to say that the handsomeness that's being complimented here is not just the physical beauty, but certainly seems that way at face value on this book. Continuing in Pasuk Daled, verse 4. Chagor charbacha al yarech gibor hotcha dehadarecha. So get your sword ready, mighty warrior, your glory and your majesty, right? Get ready for it. You are a great warrior. You're not just a person of beauty, but you also are a person who can lead the army, as a king is supposed to do. Part of the reason Bnei Israel asked for a king back in the book of Shmuel, a major part, is for the king to lead them in battle. The hadarcha tzlach rechab al dvar emet va'anva tzedek v'torcha noraot yiminecha. And in all of your hadar, in all of your glory and your majesty, ride on the animal. You should be successful. And what are you riding on? In matters of truth and modesty. That should be, in a sense, like your throne. Like God, we talk about the kisei hakavod. God sits on his throne. What is that throne? What does it represent? So your majestic riding through should represent truth and modesty and righteousness. And your right hand, yaminecha, the last word in the verse, should teach incredible things, noraot, wonders, marvels. So this is not just the might and not just the good looks, but it also has to come with substance and values, righteousness and truth and modesty and education, teaching them. Your arrows are sharp. People will fall beneath you, piercing the heart of the king's enemies. So right. You're again. He's going back to being seemingly being the warrior when he talks about piercing the heart of the king's enemies. That the sort of we go for the different. Yisrael Elohim olam va'ed shevet jor shevet malchutecha. Your throne of God is forever and ever. The scepter of your kingdom is eternal, right? And it is a matter of mishur, of what is yashar, of equity, of truth, and of fairness. Now, and that's why is it mentioned here? Presumably, we're saying to the king who has these great qualities that your virtues and your qualities should follow those of God. Ahavta tzedek v'tisna resha al kein moshchecha Elohim Elohecha shemen sason me chaverecha. So you love righteousness and you hate wickedness. And that's why God has anointed you. God has anointed you not because of your good looks and not because of your great sword and spear and the arrows, which you have very good aim since they pierce the hearts of your enemies, but you have been anointed with oil, with holy oil, and you have been anointed from amongst your friends. God has anointed you because of your values and because of what you stand for. These last three words, Shemen Saso Michaverecha, are most well known from a song, not sung about a king, but sung about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, not too long ago on Lag BaOmer, when we describe Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai with the Shemen Sason Mechaverecha, these words that of all the rabbis and all the great sages, he is the Shemen Sason. He is the most joyous of the oils. Continuing in verse 9, now we go to a different part of the chapter, different sort of a second section of this chapter. More va'ohalot tziot kol bigodech big dotech, excuse me, min heichali shem mine simchucha. So myrrh and aloes and cassia, these beautiful smells, these beautiful scents come from your garments. Out of ivory palaces, flutes have made you glad. So here we're talking about the king, and one way of understanding this is a wedding day, and the king is presenting himself, and we have we're talking about the royal wedding, and we'll see what continues. But we see people who are well taken care of. They had mani pedi, we would say today. Their designer gave them the best clothing. Benot milachim beyik rotecha nitzva shega liminecha bechem ofir. The daughters of the kings are amongst your dear women, and at your right hand stands the queen in the gold of Ophir. So it's talking about the queen has jewels on her, and Ophir was the name of a place from which gold was imported. I don't know where gold is gold and whatnot. This carat, that carat, but it was a place from which much gold was taken. And so we see here again, this is the beauty of the family, the queen, and it's showing the greatness of the king and his family, reflecting, we would hope, the greatness of God and the fact that God chose him because of the values that he demonstrated. Continue in verse 11. Shemi vatu re'i v'hitia aznechu shechichi amechu ve'tavich. Hear, O daughter, and see. Put your ear close and forget your own people and the house of your fathers. Now we're turning from the king to the queen. And presumably what this refers to is the king is marrying a woman from a different nation. We know the Shlomo, the first woman that we learned that he marries early on in the book of Melachim, is the daughter of Pharaoh, presumably for the sake of an alliance and to move in a different direction. So we're saying to her, right, you might have been the queen of the princess of Egypt, or you might have been a princess in Moab or Ammon or wherever it might be. Probably not; those two wouldn't be the best examples. But now you need to forget your people You need to forget the house of your father. Interestingly, I just mentioned the idea of it being a Moabite, and this is in some ways what we can think of Ruth HaMoaviyah, who lives this verse to an extent, right? She forgets her nation, she forgets her household, she forgets that, and she goes with with Naomi, and this is a description of a king and a queen. And of course, she is the mother of royalty, is the great grandmother of King David in the Davidic dynasty. Continuing in verse 12, Pasuk Yud Bet. V'yitav hamelech yofiech kihu Adonayich v'shtachavi lo, and the king will desire your beauty, for he is your Lord, and bow down to him. Not a verse that really works in the 21st century in terms of the way most relationships happen, the idea of bowing down to him. And we hope the king desires and loves you more than just for your beauty. Uvatsor v'mincha panayich yichalu ashirei am. And the rich amongst the people of Tyre will give you beautiful gifts. This is the city of Tyre, north, and today I believe it would be in Lebanon, and the right here, the whether this means that she is from Tyre or just the people of Tyre are wealthy and they were great traders and what they would give to you, but this is a woman who's now coming into the Jewish people and with all of her beauty and is going to represent God as the queen. Kol kvoda bat melech pnima mi mishpatzot zahav levusha. This was verse 14. The king's daughter goes inside with all of her baggage. Among her garments are those embroidered with gold. This verse becomes an important verse in the idea of tzniut, especially modesty, especially amongst the more ultra-Orthodox, who say that the way a woman dresses and her modesty, her kvoda, her kavod, her honor and respect doesn't come from being a Supreme Court justice. It comes from pnima. It's inside. It's inside her. That's the verse literally is talking about that she's got great, she's got a great necklace and great jewels and great, beautiful things that are sort of inside her and maybe not shown at this point, but it's taken in a very different direction, the idea of modesty and that really the ideas of how a person should act and how they should dress, etc., etc. Kamot tuval lamelech betulot achareha riuta teha muvaot lach. She's brought to the embroidered curtains to the king, and after her, all the young women, all the virgins, her companions, are brought to you. Right here, this is the woman. This is not the husband going to the bedekin. The woman, the bride, is brought to the king because he's the king. I don't know how else to say it. Tuvalna bismachot v'agil tiviena behechal melech. They're brought with gladness and joy. They enter the palace of the king. So, right, so this is a whole procession. You can think of like again, it's the opposite way, but think of a bedekin as the music playing and the husband to be in a few minutes is brought in part of a whole procession. Here, the procession is the woman goes to the man, not the other way around. Tachat avotecha yiyuvanecha tishitemo lisarim b'chol haaretz. May your sons be in place of your fathers. Right, you're leaving behind your family, you're leaving behind your history, or you're leaving behind Egypt or Ammon or Moab or Canaan or whatever it might be, and becoming a princess of the Jewish people. And so may your sons, may the princes take the place of your fathers. They should be distinguished. They should grow up to be great like your parents were, but now we are in a different place. You are now a daughter and a princess, and soon to be a queen of Israel. Askira, in verse 18, Shimcha b'chol dor vador, al kain amim yehoducha liolam va'ed. May I cause your name to be remembered in all generations, right? I've written this beautiful prayer, and this beautiful prayer, we don't know who it's written about, so it's hard to say that this has come true. May it cause your name to be remembered in all generations, and people will give thanks to you forever and ever. They'll know the song. They'll understand who it's written about, and and they will see, the beauty and your beauty and what you brought into this nation. It's difficult to figure out whether it was, written for Shlomo. There are those who understand this. Maybe it was written for Achav and his marriage to Izebel. A woman who is not known for her joy and for her beauty. She was from Sidon, not from Tzor, not from Tyre, although they're close together, and sometimes they're late. So different again. Could be is it David? Is it Shlomo? They had foreign wives. Is it Achav? And referring to that. Interestingly, after the destruction of the Beit Hamikdash, the rabbi sort of reinterpreted this verse as referring to the Melech HaMashiach. So that's the way that they sort of reinterpreted this. We're waiting for the beauty to come through. And one last attempt to understand, there are those who try to understand is related to Avraham. The verse that I mentioned earlier is sort of to Ruth in the feminine, one who left her father and the one who left her birthplace behind, and that it may be, again, it's in the feminine, but that it's allegorically referring to Avraham. Just to finish with the last point related to it, there's an interesting discussion in the Gemara, because one of the rabbis explains, he says that this psalm can be understood allegorically referring to Avraham, and one of the other rabbis in the Gemara, Rav Kahana, he says, you can't say that. Right? How could you say such a thing? The psalm has to be understood in its plain sense, on face value. A biblical verse cannot lose its literal sense. And so here, what's the literal sense? Is it David to one of his foreign wives, maybe the mother of Shalom? Is it Shlomo to Bat Paro, or one of his other brides? Is it Achav to Izebel, who is remembered but not kindly? But we see different images, different ways to understand the psalm, but showing, to me, most importantly, the first half, which is, yes, this is about a king, and this is about what is ultimately important about the king. Yes, he's a person who's very handsome and a person who's a great warrior, but ultimately what makes him most significant, most important, is that he's riding on truth and justice and equity, and that is why God chose him, that he is Shemen Sason Mechaverecha, that he is greater than all of the other possibilities, and thus the queen who is with him will also show this beauty and should embrace this beautiful tradition.